faith, then normally after 6 years, the owner can't claim it. But it's a very complicated area. On certain circumstances, they may be able to claim it back.
So it tells you several things, doesn't it? One, be sure what you've got is the real thing. Check out its provenance. Make sure that you've photographed everything you own, and get on to you then, if we want to try and get it back. So what do people do in the first instance? Go to our website. That's the answer. All the details will be there. My thanks to DC Ian Lawson and to Antonia Kimball. Thank you very much indeed. Now, last week we launched our official Twitter account at Titchmarsh Show. While some of you might think it's only for text-talking teenagers, others are interested in learning more about it but don't know who to ask. How about technology journalist and author of A Twitter Year, 365 days in 140 characters? Here she is, Kate Bussman. Lovely to see you. Have a seat. Now, you see, I'm of this generation who thinks, I haven't got time to tweet all this blooming rubbish, these kids on Facebook and all that. Why should we tweet?
Well, Facebook is for talking to your friends and family and sharing pictures. Twitter is more about talking to the whole world. You can find anybody you like on Twitter, so even Prince Charles has a Twitter feed.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I can't see him sitting there every day doing that.
Well, I don't think it's actually him that does it. I think he probably has someone do it for him. But at Clarence House is the Twitter name for him, and it's also for Prince Harry and Prince William and Kate.
Not just for teenagers, then?
No, actually, about half of people on Twitter are over 35. And there are quite a few people over 55 as well.
But I mean, why would you do it? If you can keep in touch with texting all that, then you say, all right, it's worldwide. But I mean, why would you want to follow anybody? Who can you follow? If you don't like TV stars, is there any point in being on it?
Well, it doesn't have to just be about TV. There are chefs on there. Jamie Oliver will tweet you back if you send him a question. He sometimes sits down and answers questions from a few of the people who sent them. And there are pictures from behind the scenes, like London Fashion Week at the moment.
Yeah.
Burberry at 4 p.m. is doing their show live. So if you're on Twitter and you follow their account, you can see the show before the people sitting in the front row.
So you see, there's more to it than just finding out what Stephen Fry had for breakfast, which is what I think a lot of us think is the only thing you find on Twitter. Yeah. It's a good source of information, then, for all of us, not just for teenagers.
No, absolutely. And because it's so short, every tweet is less than 140 characters. It's really good for headlines. So you can follow the newspapers, headlines, just through Twitter, or any subject you like.
OK, look, well, at the end of the show, Kate's going to be back to give us a Twitter masterclass. But for now, we'll also find out then exactly how we can use it, right? That's the most important thing about a masterclass. What is tweeting? What do you do? So all those of us who said, oh, no, stick with me, I'm going to do it, you can do it. At least we'll find out then what we don't like doing. For now, my thanks to Kate Bussman.
Thank you.
Still to come this Monday afternoon, Heart star turned jungle survivor Stephanie Powers, writer and broadcaster Melvyn Bragg, motor racing legend Sir Sterling Moss, and tips on how to grow your own edible snails. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show. Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show.
Welcome back. Still to come. From the working classes to the House of Lords, Melvyn Bragg on why class no longer matters. He's a legend in the world of motor racing. Sir Sterling Moss looks back at some of the sport's greatest drivers. Plus, I'll be discovering some of the garden's more unusual treats with broadcasting botanist James Wong. My next guest is an award-winning actress, best known for her role as the crime-solving wife of Robert Wagner in the TV series Heart to Heart. But the last time we saw her, she was sharing the Australian jungle with snakes, rats and cockroaches as part of last year's I'm a Celebrity. It's all in her newly updated autobiography, One from the Heart. Please welcome Stephanie Powers. listen, I did feel for you among all those rats and cockroaches and insects.
I don't mind those sort of thing. I grew up with them, you know.
Yeah.
I had rats all over the house, and no, I actually raised white rats when I was a kid, and I had a snake, boa constrictor. Actually, when I was with William Holden, he had a boa constrictor called Bertie, and if I slept too late, Bertie would go in the bed with me and wake me up. They're very nice. They're not slimy. They're very nice creatures.
Good old faithful snake. I gather you rang Biggins once or twice before you went in.
I rang him once, yes.
Well, what did he say?
He said, "You'll be all right." He said, "You'll be all right," and then let me jump in with... I'd never seen the show, so...
That would explain why you went on it, Stephanie. Because a lot of people would say, Stephanie Powers, she's so huge, what does she want to go on I'm a Celebrity?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. One of them was also, you know, probably... instrumental in the reason that I also wrote a book. I had two life-changing events that came rapidly in succession. One was the death of my mother, rapidly followed by my own dealing with and having surgery for lung cancer, which is the most common form of cancer. I am a recovering lung cancer victim, and I had resumed, while I was sort of emotionally and physically repairing from both of those events, I wrote the memoir that we would be talking about. But one of the components of my life which I had not resumed, and almost all the other activities I had resumed, was my life out of doors, which has been my entire life.
Well, also that's the William Holden Wildlife Sanctuary out there. And we talked about last time you were on about that amazing sanctuary that's out there, and your life with William Holden, which, you know, don't want to go over again that, but you've updated the book to include stuff since then.
Well, yes,
what
because, you know, when
I
went into the jungle, we're not allowed to tell anybody anything, and it was just about the time that the paperback was supposed to be published. So once they found out, they held it and said, when I got out, they said, would you write up... so while everybody else was recovering from going through beauty spas and things to recover from the jungle, I was there writing the additional chapter.
Do you know, of all the memoirs I think I've owned, and I get to read quite a few on here, you look at the photographs in this book and you think, my goodness me, every other page is either... And it's not, you know... I won't use that American word that they use, something to do with cattle manure. But every other page is either an American president, or Frank Sinatra, or, I mean, there was Ronald Reagan just flashing by, or John Wayne, the people you've worked with, that you sort of want... I mean, I get, what was Stephanie Powers really like? You know, you get, what was John Wayne really like? I mean, working with John Wayne in that film, McLintock, I mean, great fun.
Oh, God, I was a teenager, and, of course, I loved Western movies, and... if ever I could have had a dream, it would have been to be in a movie with John Wayne. I loved all his iconic films, The Searchers, all of his fabulous films.
He didn't let you down then? Was he good fun to be
with?
with?
He never let me down. I became adopted as a member of the Wayne family until even after his death. I'm still in touch with the family, and... I'm sort of this strange addendum. The Waynes always acquired people, and they acquired me.
Well, your association with Robert Wagner was so close in Heart to Heart. Did people assume that you were an item, that you were married?
Yes, it was always very interesting. We would be in some public place, and people would say, well, aren't you married? And we would say, yes, we're married, but to other people. So... We found a wonderful, compatible working relationship, and we were very fortunate that it was so successful.
Now you have another one with one of our great idols,
yes,
Richard Johnson, on Golden Pond.
Somebody said when they saw On Golden Pond, they said, well, it's like a aging Jonathan and Jennifer, you know.
Yeah, well, yes, I suppose it is in a way. Richard Johnson you have as your Jonathan in there.
Yes.
So you open at Windsor tomorrow night, so you're touring with it. So I remember seeing, you know, comparisons are odious, because Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn in the film, A great
And
tour de
Jane,
force.
yes.
And Jane, the daughter, yeah.
Interestingly enough, I ran into Henry Fonda's widow shortly before I left the United States and was coming here to start rehearsals. Shirley is her name. And I mentioned to her that I was going to do On Golden Pond, and she told me the story of how... She said, well, you of course know that I discovered the play, which I didn't know. The play is very much a comedy. It's a comedy about a dysfunctional family, like all of our families. Dysfunctional family relationship headed by the old professor who's a grumpy grouch.
Answer me just one question. Does she still say, "Norman, it's the loons, they're back"?
Yes, of course they do.
That's all right, I'll come. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Powers. The loons.
Oh, Norman, it's the loons.
She's there now with the new Formula One season due to kick off in less than a month. All eyes will be on British hopefuls Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton, but long before they were even born. My next guest was driving rings around the opposition and cementing his position as one of motorsport's greatest drivers.
It was a grand effort by Stirling Moss, who was in front all the way. The result was one of his greatest triumphs.
It was in the 35th lap that disaster overtook Moss. Stirling had gone slap off the track. Trapped in his car, he received serious injuries.
Stirling himself seems to be setting the pace in the pits. Certainly he needed every second. Driving magnificently, he held the lead to finish at an average of 86.47 miles an hour, becoming the first Briton to win the British Grand Prix. Well done, my boy, said Stirling's father, and so do we.
Please welcome Sir Stirling Moss, and with him, award-winning motor racing journalist, ITV's original pit lane girl, Louise Goodman. Welcome both. Now, last week you were both involved with the Motorsport Magazine Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What's that, Stirling?
It's they induct people each year into it. If they're well-known people, some people from before the war, people since the war, and so on. It's just a get-together, really, for motorsport.
It's the Hollywood Walk of Fame for motorsport, then, really.
Yes,
isn't
exactly.
it? So, who was inducted this year, then, Louise?
I guess John Surtees is the best recognised name. The only man to have been world champion on 2 wheels and 4 wheels. So, but also Adrian Newey, who is really the best designer in Formula One at the moment. He's the man behind the Red Bull car, which has kind of been sweeping the floor in terms of championship wins. So,
well, certainly you'd have to be a founder member because I mean everybody, you know, it's
I look that old too, don't I?
No. But I mean, and who were the other founders? The originals?
Gosh.
I think it was Fangio.
Fangio is
your
there.
big...
Nuvolari is.
Yeah.
Was,
Jackie
of course,
Stewart.
before the war.
Yeah.
Jackie Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who does fairly well in Formula One goes into it.
It's a great thing because, I mean, we saw there, you know, the older footage of it. Just how much has the sport changed from the time you've been watching it, Louise? I mean, it's astonishing.
it's changed. I mean, the cars have still got wheels and an engine, and the drivers still want to go as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's changed beyond all recognition, really, since Stirling was driving, in terms of the technology involved, you know, the safety standards. And it's very much a business now, whereas I think it's fair to say in Stirling's age it was a bit more of a gentleman's club, wasn't it? Certainly had more fun.
I don't know there were many gentlemen, but we certainly had more
good
fun.
time.
We had a fantastic time.
What sort of speeds were you doing, Stirling, when you were doing
up to 170, 180.
And what do they do now?
Well, it depends on how long the straight is, really. But you're talking well over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I mean, they corner much faster. They're much more sophisticated. The cars are incredible, but the drivers don't have the... I mean, I wouldn't swap my time for now, although I'd have made more money.
What do you think? You know, there's no way I want to make you sound like a grumpy old man at all, because, you know, it's not like it was in my day. What were the intrinsic differences in being a racing driver in your day than say, today for the likes of Buchan?
I suppose, basically, the safety is the biggest thing, safety and money. And, of course, the money came in when television started onto it. In my day, Grand Prix were 3-hour minimum, then 1 hour 10 now. It's quite changed. I mean, it's a totally different sport. The most important thing, I suppose, really, was it was very dangerous. I mean, we lose 3 or 4 drivers a year. And, I mean, I'd wear overalls which would literally like my shirt, you know. In fact, there's one somewhere here. And, you know, they're quite different now. Of course, they're fireproof.
So that one behind you, it looks like a sort of hospital gown almost, that you're... The pale blue one, right?
That was what they were like.
Stirling, a bit...
Don't make that
concerned
straight,
about... What are these?
This is actually from a Lotus. But the problem with Lotus is the wheels came off. and I had a wheel come off with 140 on. Yeah, this was 140 miles an hour, and the wheel came off.
It's a disadvantage when you're motor racing, isn't it?
It's quite surprising when the wheel goes past. Do you think, who the hell did that belong to? Then you realise it's yours.
On Exhibit B, Your Honour. Now, this is rather poignant, because if I check the date on this, you've written on the back of this, Goodwood 1962.
Yeah, that's when I had to start working for a living.
So that was your last race?
I was having fun all my life with cars, and then that actually forced me to retire. But you see, you normally hold the wheel like that, but this way around, of course. And, you know, my body went forward, because we didn't use seat belts at all then. Never used a seatbelt because you wanted to get out. See, the cars had about 40 gallons of fuel on them, alcohol. Yeah. And if you had a crash, if you weren't thrown out, you wanted to get out as quickly as you could. Yeah. So therefore, we didn't wear belts. Nobody did in Europe.
And talking about it, I mean, changing yearly now, though, Louise, isn't it, the sport? I mean, in terms of... So let me tie it off you, because it's an uncomfortable reminder. Changing yearly in terms of the development of... I mean, stunning cars like this, I look at this and think, gosh, what a fantastically forward-looking car. But even this one now is presumably starting to...
It looks, just looking at it now, I mean, if you look at the cars that have just started testing this season's Formula One cars, they look substantially different. They've all got a sort of a nose that looks a bit like a platypus, doesn't it? Very ugly, although a car does become a lot more beautiful if suddenly it starts winning. But, yeah, the level of technology, year on year, gets so advanced. I mean, you know, in my era of Formula One, and I've been involved in the sport for about 20 years, you know, it would... everybody involved on a team could do a little bit of everything involved on the car, but nowadays it's so specialist.
You do your bit and no more.
Absolutely.
British winner, are we likely to have a British champ?
I'd love to say yes. I mean, obviously Jensen
Not
and...
yet.
Not yet.
No, I mean, the trouble is, you see, you've got a guy called Vettel, who's probably the greatest driver there is now, certainly, and Adrian Newey designing his car, put those two things together. And it's unlikely, very unlikely to be beaten, frankly.
Do you still... I know you're no longer... You retired last year from driving competitively, and boy, do I understand why. I don't know why you didn't give up years ago. It scares the pants off me. Do you still enjoy the involvement you've got with motor racing?
Oh, yes.
You still love it?
The people and what the atmosphere is, and, you know, the technology is interesting. I know nothing about it, but it is interesting. And the thought that thing doing 120 will stick to the ceiling. Yeah. That didn't exist in my day.
Goodness me.
I think that's one thing that hasn't changed. It's still very much a family environment.
Yeah. Delight to have you both with us. My thanks to Sir Sterling Moss and Louise Goodman. Thank you both for having me. Still to come, I'll be turning the tables on veteran interviewer Melvyn Bragg. Twitter ye not? Well, Kate Busman will be back to give us a masterclass in tweeting. Plus, botanist and broadcaster James Wong's here to reveal some of the more unusual edible treats the garden has to offer. I better go and get changed. See you in a couple of minutes.
Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show.
Look what I put my hair through. Monday it's straight, Wednesday it's curly. Over time, I'm left with more and more split ends. I tried so many hair care products, but now I've found this.
Brand new Repair and Protect from Pantene. It's our best ever Pantene Pro V conditioning formula. It makes split ends appear instantly mended and helps give lasting split end protection.
With new Pantene, my hair looks healthy week after week.
New Repair and Protect. Pantene. Hair so healthy looking it shines.
Colour your world with Casting Creme Gloss from L'Oréal Paris. You say your hair feels super soft, super glossy.
No ammonia.
It leaves you feeling like $1 million.
It's all down to the right casting.
Thanks for sharing the love for Casting Creme Gloss from L'Oréal.
Show them you're worth it.
Deposit £10 and you'll have £30 to play. At Tombola, Britain's biggest bingo site.
Dominic King.
Shut up and sit down! You're a police officer.
I'm a hostage negotiator. If I walk away from this bus empty-handed, you will be dead in minutes.
He knows what he's doing. Brand new Kidnap and Ransom starts Thursday at 9 on ITV1.
Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show.
Hello again. Still to come, we're talking class and culture in Britain in a while with a man who has plenty of both, Melvyn Bragg, plus everything you need to know about Twitter, but were afraid to ask, or even couldn't care. No, you will by the end of it. You'll be fascinated. But now it's time for my gardening tip of the day. And if you got plants in pots and window boxes and troughs that are looking like these, what's happened to them? Simple answer, they've been frosted. What can you do? Be patient. Pick off the worst affected bits, the bits that have gone brown and rotten or crisp, and then just be a little bit patient. Make sure they're damp but not soggy, and that they're sheltered from the worst of the weather. And with milder weather supposedly on its way, they should soon pick up, and these tiny little buds down in the centre on things like these primulas will be fine. They're small enough to have got away with it, and it will eventually sort of pick up and regain its strength. But it's been a bit of a hard time for a lot of them. That's the tip done. Now, for many people, growing your own means planting some seeds in the hope you'll end up with a few juicy tomatoes or the odd lettuce. But there's so much more you can eat from the garden, and next month sees the launch of the Edible Garden Show, an event dedicated to sourcing food from your very own great outdoors. One of the stars of the show is here now. Please welcome broadcasting botanist James Wong. James, lovely to have you with us. We're not very adventurous then, are we, according to you? Well, tomatoes, lettuces, spuds.
They're all good favourites. It's about 15 to 20 things that we grow on a regular basis. There are 6,000 things that we can grow outdoors in the UK, and most of which you might consider tropical or exotic or major crops in other countries. You had no idea you could grow in the UK.
How unadventurous are we? What's your first one?
OK, for example, kiwi fruit. You can grow regular kiwi fruit outdoors in the UK.
We all know
but
these chaps,
guys,
don't we?
These are baby kiwis, and if you look at that little cross-section, you can see how closely related they are.
Well, well, well.
Edible skin, though, double the sugar on the inside, half the acidity, pop one in your mouth just like a grape, and each plant will produce up to 400 of those a year. Hardy, down to minus 35 degrees.
Goodness. As you say, no hairs on the outside at all.
Yeah.
Hardy down to minus 30.
Yeah, minus 35. They're from Siberia, and it gets way colder there than it gets anywhere else in the UK.
I don't really like kiwi fruit, but I like those little hairless
Well, there's
ones.
so much sweeter, and there's 400 fruit, or up to 400 fruit per plant you can get.
Goodness
so
me.
totally worth
And
doing.
we can buy the plants now, can we?
You can buy the plants in loads of places.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the fruit, quite difficult to buy. This punnet is £9.50 from Harrods.
Wow.
Whereas a regular kiwi fruit, you can get 8 for a quid. Make the swap, and it totally is worth your while.
So grow your own of those, and you're saving your quids in.
Exactly.
All the information on where you get all these things, all on the website, so don't worry.
Okay.
Now, what are these? They look like pink fir apple potatoes.
Exactly. If you're into growing your own potatoes, or you want something a bit more interesting, a little bit more different, these guys were bred and come from the same place as the potatoes. They were the second most important root vegetable to the Inca, who grew the potato.
Yeah.
Except completely blight-resistant. They taste a little bit like a regular potato. They're called oca or New Zealand yam, very popular in New Zealand. But they have a kind of a sorrely flavour, kind of an acidy apple flavour. And they have edible leaves as well as an edible root.
So you're getting 2 crops for the price of 1?
If you have a small garden, it's double the crops in the same
area.
And
we now get tubers of those to plant from Seedsman as well,
all over the place. You know, all of the major catalogues, and they come in every colour of the rainbow as well, so...
Oh, we are so adventurous, aren't we, really? Now, then, this is a melon. A melon's a melon's a melon. What sort of melon's this?
It's called a shark's fin melon.
There's no fin on the side.
You might imagine there'd be lots of fins around the outside.
Floating around in the sea.
Slice one in half, you cook the flesh, and it separates out a bit like a spaghetti squash.
Yes.
And it looks and tastes and has the same texture, even, as shark's fins. It's in shark's fin soup.
Yeah.
And in Asia, it's used as a kind of a poor man's substitute. One of these will produce up to, 4 melons, and a bowl of shark's fin soup will cost you, upwards of £100. Not only that, it's better for the environment, it's more animal-friendly, and it tastes brilliant as well. In Spain and Latin America, they even make it into a sweet, so jams, jellies, everything you can imagine.
No sharks were harmed in the making of this melon.
It doesn't taste fishy either. Everyone thinks that shark's fins will taste like fish. Well, shark's fins have no flavour. They only get the flavour from the stock they're cooked in.
That you put on,
So there's a kind of a melony, cucumber-y type flavour to it.
Wonderful. Now, what's this? Growing our own sweeteners?
Everyone thinks that growing your own in the UK is all about, fruit and vegetables, and if you're really lucky, some herbs. But you could grow spices in the UK, everything from wasabi to saffron will grow outdoors perfectly well. Even your own E-numbers. This plant is called stevia, and it contains a chemical that's 300 times sweeter than sugar, but has 0 calories.
Good heavens.
It even contains fluoride and it's antibacterial, so it's
you
like
can make
the
a mint
anti-sugar.
out of this. I don't know why you're telling us, James. You could just sell these.
Well, they sell this stuff all over the place.
And
It's in
that's
every
based on
supermarket.
stevia.
The
It's
sweetness comes from those.
Yes.
And a single teaspoon of the dried leaf is enough to sweeten as much as a cup of sugar in a cake mix.
Goodness.
So, yeah, brilliant.
So a couple of dried leaves in a cup of tea?
Exactly the same
Just
as sugar.
like sugar?
Yeah.
And can we buy stevia now, then?
You can buy the seeds and the plug plants.
Yes.
Quite a few major distributors, I know Sutton's, for example,
Yeah.
sell them. So definitely something to look out for in 2012, the next big thing.
The next big thing. Stevia is your sweetener and no calories. Now, what are these little things? These are tiny seeds.
These are a little bit of a novelty.
Flower heads.
I don't know if you want to taste a little bit of one. They're called electric daisies. They're in the daisy family, and there is a electric sensation like licking a 9-volt battery.
I'm so glad I did that.
You shouldn't take the whole bowl.
Why would you
full.
want to?
Well, fancy chefs like Heston Blumenthal are
Yeah.
using them on the rim of a margarita glass,
Yeah.
for example. There's that almost like space dust sensation, that
Yes.
fizzing flavour.
Yes.
They use them on sushi, small amounts on the right food, and it's
Look,
brilliant.
I'm happy with a sweet potato. Can I grow sweet potatoes in this country?
You think there's something Caribbean or from Louisiana, but there are 4 newly developed varieties that will grow outdoors perfectly well in the UK. And it is as easy as getting the right variety, not the ones from the supermarket. They have to be the right ones from a supplier. Plant them up, you get little cuttings like this, or little shoots that can be made into cuttings. Outdoors, sunny location, and left outside, to a long period of the year.
Yeah.
And, anywhere in the country you can get them.
James,
Edible leaf as well.
That is so useful. It just shows how unadventurous we are, doesn't it? Bless your heart, James, thank you. Not just veg, of course, that you can grow in the garden, as my next guest will show us, but I seem to have spent most of my life trying to discourage the things that she grows. This is a woman who farms snails. Please welcome Helen Howard. What got you into farming snails?
Oh, well, the snails just have such a lot to recommend them as farm animals,
They don't have much to recommend them in a garden, though, do they?
Because they...
Huge.
They don't make a noise.
No, that's true.
And you don't have to chase them around with a dog.
No.
So
massive things, these, though. These are absolutely enormous.
Yes.
But these are bigger than my garden snails.
They are. They're the same species as the common garden snail,
Yeah.
but they're a farmed variety that grows faster and gets bigger. And they were brought to Britain by the Romans to eat. So it's thought that the common garden snail was not native to Britain before the Romans came.
What did the Romans do for us? They bought blooming snails to eat our crops.
So they're all
didn't they?
escaped
I'll
farm
put you back
animals.
at our escaped farm animals. This is not a cow that's trampling your garden.
Yeah.
So you farm them, and you farm them to sell for food,
That's
obviously.
right. I sell to restaurants and to people who are having dinner parties.
So let's just have a look, because you've got some eggs in here.
I have, yes.
Now, so those big snails lay little clusters of these
White
round
These were
eggs
laid
like
yesterday.
these. Laid yesterday.
And they're a clutch all from one snail.
So that's one snail lays a little bunch like that. And I know
Yes,
in here.
up to 100.
Now we've got some youngsters in here.
Yes.
Now, tell me about these in the lid. See this? How old are these then?
They're
Helen,
just
these?
a week old.
Gosh. So there's a week-old snails in the lid. How long then before they get as big as these 3 muscular chaps down here?
It's 6 months from egg to table, as we say.
That's not long at all. Then. And so you're providing kits now then for people to grow their own?
Yes, I sell a mini snail farm, which sells very well as a birthday present for children. So you get 6 babies and everything you need to look after
And
them.
within 6 months, they'll be able to provide you with a starter. It's a starter kit for a starter, really, isn't it? Terrible. You can't hear, can you? That's all right. So you reckon the snails are worth investing in?
I do, yes. I'm trying to encourage people to keep a few in their back garden. So next to your chicken run, you have a snail pen.
And this is it? So this is a smallholder snail pen. How many snails could you raise in here?
Up to 500. Yes, they don't take up much space, you see, that's another advantage
And you
of them.
feed them on, what, fruit and veg?
Waste fruit and vegetables,
Waste fruit and veg.
yes.
How do you clean them before you cook them?
Well, because mine have been eating a controlled diet, I don't have to do anything complicated.
Right.
So if you keep them in a pen, all you need to do is withdraw food and give them plenty of water to drink before they're cooked.
And you post them all around the country, people
I
to
do,
eat?
yes.
I bet your post office loves you.
They don't mind as long as they can't hear them moving about in the box.
James and Helen will both be appearing at the Edible Garden Show next month. And if you'd like more information about that or anything we've talked about today, how to farm snails, where to get all the crops, just visit our website. My thanks to James Wong and Helen Howard. Thank you very much. So look on this Monday afternoon. Lord Bragg, Melvin reveals why he believes we Brits are no longer defined by our class. Plus, if you're wondering what Barack Obama's up to now, or if you just want the latest breaking news, Twitter may be the answer. Technology writer Kate Bussman has everything you and I need to know. First, I'm off to get changed. See you in a couple of minutes.
Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show.
Meeting, but time now for my next guest. He's been at the forefront of the arts for more than 50 years. As the producer and presenter of the BAFTA award-winning South Bank show, he's interviewed everyone from Sir Laurence Olivier to Dennis Potter and Dame Elizabeth Taylor. For his latest series, he's turned his attention to the contentious issue of class within British society.
People had a little bit more money, and then the clever people built the great ballrooms, which are sort of dancing palaces. They must have been amazing for people from ordinary backgrounds to go into these palaces, like the great cinema palaces, weren't they?
Wonderful. You know, you go into the Empress Ballroom or the Tower Ball in Blackpool, and you look up. These are people that are probably living in tenement sort of buildings around and about, and suddenly you're in this most palatial place. You've got a chance to get hold of a girl and smooch around, and maybe a slight touching of the bosom.
I wish. Please welcome Melvin Bragg. It was interesting looking at that and Len, and it struck me because you're from the north, you're from Cumbria, whereas Cumberland and Westmoreland in your and my day. I'm from Yorkshire. And it struck me that not the obsession with class, but the observation and the interest in this class versus culture and what are they and where are they, that there seemed to me to be a greater awareness of place up north than down here. In that opportunities down here were taken for granted, and up there you were lucky if you got them. Is that fair?
Well, it's always been rougher in the north. I blame William the Conqueror. Yeah, when he came in 1066, as everybody will remember, one of the first things he did was to lay waste, that's his phrase, lay waste the north, destroy it. It was too troublesome, they kept being rebellious, they wouldn't do what he said. And so he went and he blew it apart. And all you had in the north for centuries was a few castles to keep us all down. But we wouldn't be kept down, Alan.
That's it.
And look at you.
Me and me are still carrying on. Well, it did. I thought the first thing I've got to ask him is actually what is the difference between class and culture? It's perhaps an obvious question, but one that we need to lay clear for your series, really.
Well, just to speak briefly about it, class is what you're given or have been in this country for centuries.
And it's still there.
Yeah, well, it's not as important. You're born into a class. I was born working class. People are born middle class or upper class. That's what you're given. Culture's what you make for yourself. How you define yourself. You don't say, not if you're a sensible person, I am this class all the time. You say, I'm somebody who likes ballroom dancing. I'm somebody who likes going to the pictures. I'm somebody who likes this television show or this radio programme. And so you define yourself through... And what's happened over the last 100 years is that being defined by them as to what class you are has become less and less important. Snobbery is now pathetic or comical and not a mainstay of our social society. And culture has become something that we're more interested in, we're relaxed about, it's expanding, we have more culture than, frankly, any other country in the world. This country, sorry about this, per head of the population, has the biggest creative industry in the world, and it's growing all over the place. So I'm seeing a cross going, class going down, and culture, that is what we like to do by ourselves, going up.
So is it irretrievably linked with social mobility? I mean, the two go hand in hand.
No, I think another thing's changed is that I don't think people of my generation, and certainly of the generations before, are interested in that old ladder we were supposed to climb. I think they're interested in doing what they want to do. And if it pleases them to belong to a community group doing this or a local theatre, then that's enough. They don't want to climb up the ladder to wear a top hat. They don't want to do that anymore. And people don't wear top hats anymore either, so there's nothing for you when you get there.
So you've explained then what you're out to prove. I mean, did you learn anything yourself from the series, from doing it? Any surprises for you? Yeah, the surprise is the resilience and tolerance of the British people. I'm sick to death of us being called a sick society, a broken society. We're anything but. We're a very decent,
honourable society. People all over the place know what they're up to, know when they're up against it, and get on with it. And they have decided to shake off, slowly, because it won't disappear in a moment. It's been going for hundreds of years, but shake off the idea of being shackled by what you're born to and say, we'll describe ourselves as we like, thank you very much. We want to do this, so that's how I want to describe myself. If somebody comes around with a tick box, you're polite to them and say, which class you're in? You say, oh, well, let's get him rid of him from the door, we'll put a tick there. But I don't think anybody's all that interested anymore.
So you're saying, really, you can achieve anything if you want to achieve it, if you've got the energy, the determination, the tenacity, in a way, to do it, you can, and the aptitude, you can get there.
Well, that's true, but it's also true there are great divisions, but they're now divisions of wealth. They're not as big. My programme starts in 1911, 100 years ago, 101 years ago. But the divisions then were much, much greater than now. They're absolute. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people in this country, hundreds of thousands, lived in complete slums that you can only find in dark continents, as it were, emerging continents these days, in one room with rats, literally. We've got film of it. We can see him talking about it.
And we talk about recessions.
Yes, and so that's a change. But there is still a big gap in wealth. And if you're born into a community where there's poverty, lack of money in the circumstances we find ourselves in, and broken families maybe, and so on and so forth, you have less of a chance. But I don't think class, in the old sense, enters into it in the same sense anymore. There are divisions, educational divisions and money divisions, but not class.
But if you look at, you know, the Etonian Prime Minister, and I mean, there's class there still. I mean, upper middle or...
Yeah, 60% of the cabinet went to independent schools, so there's a lot still remaining.
Yeah.
It took a long time, it takes a long time for dinosaurs to die.
So the premise of your programme is, what, that it still exists or it doesn't exist like what it used to?
Well, it doesn't exist. I think it's... my idea, the notion, for what it's worth, people can disagree, make their own minds up in this place, don't they, is that class is less and less important to most people in the society, not to everybody, and what they do with themselves, how they define themselves, what they are, that's more and more important, and that brings in culture all over the place. So one's going down, the other's going up. But class will never go away. It's partly in our genes, partly we like it. It's now, having been a great intimidating thing, it's now a source of comedy. I mean, Downton Abbey is as much a comedy as anything else, isn't it?
I'm not getting into that one. I'll just finish and then also starting. And if you ever want out doing well, do it for yourself. Melvin's series is on BBC Two this Friday at 9 p.m. Great chat, ladies and gentlemen. Melvin Bragg, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, have you ever wondered what Stephen Fry has for breakfast? No. Where the latest traffic jams are? Yes. Or you just want to know what your friends are up to? Thanks to Twitter, all of this is possible. The popularity of the social networking site has exploded over the past few years, and I see you've just nicked that apple. There are now over 200 million users of Twitter worldwide. We've even launched our own official Twitter account, but for loads of you, the world of Twitter may still seem like a cyber black hole or something teenagers do. So here to give us a quick Twitter masterclass, please welcome back Kate Bussman. Right, now I promised I would pay attention. I've decided, for some weird reason, that I want to tweet. Some of us out there, we don't do it. So if we want to tweet or we want to get onto Twitter, how do we get onto it?
Go to twitter.com and you make an account. Very easy. All you need to do is choose a name, enter your email address, make up a password.
And your name starts with the @ doesn't it?
It does. That's how you know it's a Twitter name.
That's why we're at Titchmarsh Show, right? So you do that, and you think, right, OK, I've done this now. What am I going to do? I need to send a message out, to tweet.
Yep, you can send a tweet.
Yep.
I've got a screen up here if they can make it work.
Right.
There it is. That's your page at the moment.
Right.
So all these things here are tweets.
Yeah.
And lots of them are repeats of messages that other people have said. The word for that is a retweet. So all these ones are you retweeting things other people said. That's you talking there.
Oh, look, he's starting to put my feet up with Mr T for an hour. Oh, that was me saying that. Oh, fine. I was getting excited that somebody was doing it then, and I realised it was myself.
Yeah. And then the real thing that you want to do is follow people.
Yes.
So what that means is you find people that you're interested in, or, for example, a news channel.
Yes.
And you can choose exactly who you're interested in, just follow them.
And then you will get their updates. So you've got a follow button on there that you can
so
press.
over here, it says that's Miranda Hart.
Yes.
So if you like her show...
Oh, I do.
There you go.
Did you call the midwife last night? So did I. She's lovely. Sorry, yes, right. Go.
So there's a little button next to her name that says follow.
Yeah, oh,
And
right.
it's as simple as that.
Press that?
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Now, then, what's this thing about
hashtags?
Yes.
Now, a hashtag is a subject. So,
Yes.
for instance, this week it's London Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So you can follow everything that everyone's saying about London Fashion Week by following the hashtag. So that's the hashtag there. It goes #LFW for London
Fashion Week.
Fashion
So
Week.
it's the hash key, and then whatever it is.
So,
right.
for instance, when anyone's watching Strictly Come Dancing
Yes.
and they're talking about that show, it will be #SCD, Strictly
Right.
Come Dancing.
So you can follow all that. So it's not just a case of finding out, sorry, Stephen, what's Stephen Fry for breakfast? You can follow news. I mean, if you want to find out, apparently I've got a mate who's obsessed with the drought that's happening, and he's doing #drought.
Right.
And anything that's got drought on it will be fed into that.
Yes, absolutely. And so if you remember during the riots last year, there was a #riot cleanup.
Yes.
And it meant that the morning after the riots, by lunchtime, because everybody was following where people would be meeting up to clear up, almost everything was cleaned up. So, and I'll show you a very famous tweet from back then. That's a picture there of one of the meetups the next day. It was tweeted at, I think it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and those are all the people who showed up with their brooms.
So this is a real way, a valuable way of getting community action going.
Oh, yeah,
on something.
absolutely. Yes, there was a very famous barber who was 89 years old called Aaron Biber, and some people on Twitter took up his cause. His shop in Tottenham had been completely ruined, and they raised £35,000 for him in 3 days, just on Twitter.
Goodness. Well,
and it's amazing. It's really amazing, the power of this website.
Do we feel better disposed towards Twitter now than we did when we came in? Well, that's pretty good. I think it's about an 80% yes, and the odd murmur underneath of those who still haven't a clue. I'm better at it now. I promise now that perhaps I should certainly look at having a go. Everything you wanted to know about Twitter but were afraid to ask. More information, I'm going to duck down, in Kate's new book. Here it is, Twitter a Year. So, Twit a Year. My thanks. Twit a Year. My thanks to Kate Busman. Thank you.
Thank you.
You won't believe it, Richard Wilson's here tomorrow, so is It Girl Tara Palmer-Tomkinson, plus your favourite childhood sweets. See you at 3. Bye-bye.
We're heading for Newquay tonight in the final awards for the South West in Bloom. It's the last leg on Caroline Quintin's journey around Cornwall, plus there's a chilly swim round St Michael's Mount on the cards. That's later at 8. Next this afternoon, though, we've some unfinished business with Barnaby and Jones in Midsummer.
Jeansreunited.co.uk sponsors the Alan Titchmarsh Show.